Good morning, everybody. Whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world, this is Coast to Coast, brought to you in part by True Fusion Gym. What's happening, guys?
Good morning. I love the new sponsor. We know True Fusion well. Thank you for the sponsorship. Tell your wife I said thank you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. What's happening, guys?
Hey, you know what? It's, besides the World Cup going on, there's all these other sports that are happening that aren't baseball. And there's a lot going on.
Big things happening.
There's should we start with what happened yesterday? Because now that I'm looking, there's a lot that happened yesterday.
Yeah, of course.
Like tons. The draft is when?
Thursday, yeah.
So this is all pre-draft stuff. I guess everybody's trying to figure out what they have.
Yes, sir.
Ahead of time here. But it's like everybody's going in different spots, and who's paying what and how much people cost, and we might as well start with the freak.
I mean, you got to, right? Like that broke last night, and Giannis headed to Miami. That is
gangsters on Dottie get fat and move to Miami.
I mean,
so
Giannis and Portis are going, and then obviously what they're getting back is a haul, right? You end up with four players, 4 picks, including number 13 on Thursday. So they get Harrow, Ware, Jaquez, and Kasparis. Not even gonna try his last name. So he's got a first name. We'll
come on. Challenge. Come on. Accept the challenge.
And then it's 3 first-rounders that, including 13. One of them is a pick swap, and then a second-rounder. Now, the dates of some of these is funny. So 13 is obviously for this year's draft. But the other 2 first-rounders unprotected are in 31 and 33. And then the pick swap in 30 and a 33 second rounder. So they're a little bit in the future here.
Well, and which makes a little sense because they figure at that point both teams will stink. So, and I find it very funny that they're doing a pick swap in 30 and it's not weighted one way or another. It's an automatic swap.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, it's not, hey, if the Bucks have the better pick, we're not swapping.
This could change. So this deal doesn't actually get signed until the 6th. And so this framework as it's constructed may not necessarily stay the same way. They may end up getting other teams involved. We've seen stuff like that happen before. So I wouldn't put this down as this is exactly how it's coming together, but this is how it's coming together as of today.
Yeah. And it's that language is automatic. The swap is the better of the 2 picks, automatic.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's weighted towards the Bucks, I assume.
Right. The Bucks have control of the decision.
Okay. Interestingly enough, they were ready to trade Jaylen Brown away and a couple of picks for him. Like would that have been a bigger trade?
The idea of Giannis and Tatum scares me a lot more than Giannis and Bam Adebayo. I'll tell you that much.
That's fair.
I actually think that Jaylen Brown is the better of the 2. And I think that time is going to show that versus Tatum. You know what I mean? And it's going to be, like I said, they're both great players. So I'm not putting one over the other. It's like a 1 and a 1A, but I think that Jaylen Brown is going to wind up being the better of the 2 players because Jaylen Brown plays a better defense. I think better than Tatum.
Tatum's been playing out of position for the last 4 seasons, so he's been playing power forward, and he's not. If they would have got Giannis, he'd have been able to go back to the small forward position, be a little bit more flat. So the fact that he's actually been taking on bigger, stronger, essentially responsibilities, makes it a little bit different.
I'll defer to you on that one because I first off, I hate the Celtics, so I can't stand watching them. and I, like I said, I didn't realize that he was playing out of position most of the time. So
Yeah, I mean, when they had Horford and Kristaps, they had a lineup where they would use Kristaps and Horford, and he'd get a chance to, play the 3, and Brown would play the 2. But for the most part, like when they won their championship, their lineup was Derek White, Holiday, Brown, Tatum, and either Horford or Kristaps. So he was starting at the 4.
got you. Okay. Well, that's good. We got to see. That is what it is at the moment, and he's not going there. He's going to Miami.
True.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that part of it is mostly locked in. It just sounds like they're leaving opportunity open to include some other pieces. So what we'll see. Obviously, the 6th is coming soon. So if they're going to make any changes, it's got to happen pretty quick.
Yes. Bigger question is, from the fallout from this, does Jaylen Brown now turn around and ask to, like, this is the 2nd year in a row he's been in trade rumors, and they've been trying to get him out of town. Does he now say, all right, I'm done, I want out?
Yeah, he's like, I keep hearing I'm going to get out of town. How about you guys send me out of town?
Just move me, right?
Especially now, right? So, because it's not like they're going to be great this next season.
Well, I mean, let's face it, they still were the number 2 seed, even though they lost to the Sixers. And the Sixers had probably the best 3-game run of their season during that series, just to fall flat the next 4 games.
Yeah.
There's a piece of me that makes me wonder, now that you say that, and this would be very odd because of the 2 teams and the way they are, would you see possibly a Embiid for Brown trade?
If I'm Brad Stevens, I can't do that.
But if you have an unhappy Jaylen Brown now, because he's just unhappy with the way things have gone.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a guy that potentially becomes a cancer, yeah, you move him out of town. And if you can get a high caliber target that you're not going to have to spend a ton to get.
Yeah. I have to believe I can do better than Joel Embiid, though.
Well, I mean, you have to. I mean, I know that you're looking at the downside. You know what I mean? It's like, and I get that. Yeah. Trust me. There's so many ways that you look at this, and none of them are easy for me as a Philly guy, because all of them say that I'm stuck with Embiid. That being said, you know what I mean? That being said, I am, if it's going to take a situation like that, somebody who's becoming a cancer quickly, that will say, you know what, but it has to have the star power. Now, is Jaylen Brown enough of a star power situation? As you're saying, as the general manager of Boston, that you would not do that. And is that a one-on-one trade? Like, I guess if you're Boston, like you're saying as the GM, that you would need something to sweeten that pot. I'm saying that I would need it the other way to sweeten the pot. So it puts us all in a very awkward situation, along with the fact that this would be a trade in division again, with rivals.
For that,
not something that you would see.
Yeah.
For that, for me, I think Brown is that big of a piece. I mean, he's proven it. He's a champion. He's a Finals MVP. So he's got some cachet. He is a max player. If I'm out calling, I'm reaching out to, just kind of without deep thinking, I'm reaching out to the Houston Rockets. And you give me Alperen Şengün, Jabari Smith, and maybe one first.
Do you look at maybe Durant?
No. No.
Again, I'm thinking about teams that are going to try to expel. I don't think Houston's going to try to move any of those guys because they feel like that that's the nucleus of the team that you're trying to do. And I don't know if Jaylen Brown changes their number in the West.
I think he does.
That
you got
doesn't.
Brown and Durant, and you got Van Vliet coming back. You got basically two champions coming back next season to your roster.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can keep KD from having to be the guy,
right?
Like
you
if you
still
can just
got
let him play free, then he's still a great player.
Yeah.
Anytime he's had to carry the burden, it's a problem.
Yeah,
but
and you still got the other Thompson twin. So I think that would be a win-win for both teams.
Okay. That's if they decide that they want to do it. Like I said, you're talking about a GM.
It's hypothetical.
Yeah. We're talking about a GM who was just talking about possibly trading him almost with an even player swap, kind of, for Giannis. Now you're talking about, trying to get all this other stuff, like trying to get a Giannis type deal, and I don't know that that's going to work the same way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just gonna depend on how bad the situation is, right? Like how bad is the attitude? Because then, like that does a lot of things. I mean, you saw KD have a max contract, and then the next year they're like, yeah, okay,
right,
go ahead and go anywhere else. It doesn't matter. So I mean, if the attitude is becoming an issue. And again, this is speculation. We're not saying he's a cancer or anything like that. So like, calm down. but if that's true, then yeah, I mean, you're gonna take less because other teams are gonna offer you less because they know he's the problem, right? I mean, you watch that happen across the NFL where you end up with a high caliber player, but the attitude is terrible, and the guy wants out, and you want him out, and the trade value is nothing because everybody knows. At the end of the day, you might just cut him. So I mean, if that's the way it's going, then there's not going to be great trade value for him, even if he is great.
Well, and in lesser news, Randall to the Nets.
Yeah, that is for a bag of popcorn.
Yeah. Literally. And how about Trae Young getting $212 million?
Hey, get your money, young fella.
I'm not mad at it. If they'll pay you, do it. Like,
well, I mean, that explains why the Bullets are no longer a viable franchise. Oh, I'm sorry, the Wizards.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's I mean, do they know what's going on?
Yeah,
not for nothing. Trae Young is an okay player. He's a decent player. Is he worth $212 million?
I would not make him that guy. Right. Yeah. I would not make him that guy for my team. But
not at all.
Apparently the Wizards
I don't even have a team. I don't even have a team. I wouldn't do that deal. But
the Wizards' current GM was the assistant GM in Atlanta, so he has a relationship with Trae Young.
I gotcha.
The previous,
he is a good player. Like I don't want to be
right,
like,
but you know what? But he was the one most affected by the Harden rule. Because you call it the Harden rule, I call it the Trae Young rule, because he was the one. Like Harden still had a little bit of game afterwards. Trae Young's game disappeared the moment that he can't get to the foul line. The moment that he can't play this whole, I'm going to jump into you. Like before, he was making Allen Iverson numbers. He single-handedly beat the Sixers in that playoff series 5 years ago. Single-handedly. And now he's not worth anywhere near that money.
Some of these contracts are based on things you've done, right? Like it's So even though you're years removed, they're like, oh, well, if you have a GM that's rationalizing it, they're just like, oh, okay, well, but he's been in a situation that, you couldn't duplicate those numbers, but the talent's still there. Let's do this deal. Like there is a way to rationalize it. I personally, again, I prefer the NFL's way. What have you done for me lately? And, if your best stuff is 5 years ago, I'm not giving you top money.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I look at it. This is this is my inherent problem with the NBA. It's run by the asylum. You know what I mean? It's like these players are running it and they're making money that they shouldn't be making.
I agree to a point. I mean, it is a players' league, but I think there are not enough execs in the NBA who have the marbles to say no. Like we see it in Miami, they run a tight ship. San Antonio, saying there are very, very few franchises, Celtics, who are just, we're not doing that. You can take your walking papers. In the NFL, they don't care. Oh, really? You ran for 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns? I'm still not giving you $10 million. I'll draft this kid in the 7th round who can, they literally don't care.
No, they are the condescending little league dad. Like they're just like, you went out and crushed it, and they're like, good job, Buckaroo, and keep it pushing.
Exactly. We need like 3 more execs like that in the NBA who just are not afraid to run the franchise. Yeah.
Well, I know that. So they just extended the CBA last year for 2 years to the 28, right? That's what this is now. Because I thought it was supposed to come up this year, and they literally just extended it.
28 and like that.
I thought that this year when they brought up the CBA, that the NBA was going to try to get some of the power back, and they were going to do the Ben Simmons rule. Like that's like that. If you're going to play these games, you're not going to have to get paid. And that it would take a little bit of power back, like that. Listen, I know Ben Simmons used a lot of different terms during his time to say on why he was doing it. And all of it was for the reason that he just didn't care about basketball. Basketball was his job. It wasn't his life, and he didn't care about it.
Yeah.
But I look at this and I wonder now, in the midst of these large contracts that are ridiculous in my opinion, some of them, do you think the NBA could incorporate a rule like the NHL has, the buyout rule, where they would buy out a contract and then that person would become a unrestricted free agent? Now, I would tell you that I think that it couldn't happen that way in the NBA, that it would be and they would have to make it some type of restricted free agency if you were buying out the contract, because these contracts are so large, or somebody buying into the contract. Like they would have to word the rules differently, like much differently. The NHL has done this now. I think it's going on its 10th year.
Because the NBA might have actually started that. Remember, once upon a time, for their last strike, they came back with the amnesty rule, where every team could cut one player. It's basically the same thing. They could cut the player without penalty of the contract, and that player became an unrestricted free agent. So they actually did that before.
Okay. But I mean, obviously, the rule on that really just hurt the 10th, 11th, and 12th man.
No, there were some stars that got cut. Like Gilbert Arenas was an amnesty player. He was making like $50 million. There were some big names who were cut during that period. But you could only do it once per season. and I can't remember when it ended, but it was about 3 or 4 seasons they did it, I believe.
Crazy, yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was like right after their lab, because they don't strike as much as other leagues. It was after their last strike. What was the last NBA strike? Somewhere in the early 2010s, I believe.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember that type of strike, but because they didn't lose any games.
Let me look it up. They lost like 2 games. NBA amnesty. What year was it? NBA amnesty.
Did it say where is Cape May?
Where in Cape May?
Oh, I am in North Cape May. I'm close to the ferry in Town Bank area.
At 2011.
Okay.
And it was like a mini lockout, right? That just before the season began, they came, they got everything worked out, and
yeah. So the NBA previously implemented the amnesty clause in 2005. So from 2005 to 2011, that's when they did it.
And that's when they got rid of it in 2011.
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah, I the buyout clause would make a little bit of sense to a certain extent. You know what I mean? I guess to be able to buy out that, hey, you get 1 year and then you're an unrestricted free agent and go get whatever contract you want. But, like 212, I'm thinking about that $212 million.
Yeah.
And considering a buyout in 2 years because you're not anywhere near that money, worth that money, or the amnesty, you're saying the amnesty was like, hey, you're cut. That's it. You don't get anything.
No, it was a buyout. It was a buyout, but it wasn't 100%. They negotiated the percentage of whatever was left. So no, there was money involved. I'm not saying it was
okay.
Straight cut.
Right. So I wish that there was something like that they had the ability to do that. I know that the NHL does that too, and it became an annual thing. You are able to buy somebody out if their contract is too large for that, and you could do it over a term of like 20 years. They instituted the Barry Bonds rule almost in the NHL. I mean, that's why Ilya Bruskalov, I think this is his last season getting paid by the Flyers. Like literally, I think he's done and off the books this year. So, which I'd be happy, because he was not worth it at all. And we've watched the goalie that he was traded for win a number of Vezina trophies and 2 Stanley Cups. And now, as a great segue, has both Tkachuk brothers on the team, because it's not just basketball that's making big trades, it's also hockey. And Tkachuk gets traded to Florida, and they wind up getting 2 first-round picks this year, a pick in 2030, and a second-round pick also in 2030 or 2031.
So that's what they gave up?
That's what they gave up, Florida. Let me make sure that I have that 100%. Then that went to Ottawa, and obviously Ottawa is on sale right now. You know what I mean? Like, they are trying to revamp the entire team that they thought they could put it together and didn't. But that Brady Tkachuk is sent to Florida for 2 first-round picks in 26, a second-rounder in 27, and an additional top 10 protected first in 2029. So,
gotcha. So basically, they just traded what they got from the Kraken, because what they got from the Kraken for Mackey was a 26 first round and a 27 second round. So part of what they got from Seattle is probably what they moved to get.
And the money. Sure. I mean, so Mackey was probably, it probably worked out like that specifically because he has what, like a $6 million contract, $7 million contract, $6.5 million, I think, per year. And they needed to get rid of that space, to create the space for Tkachuk. which, like I said, we talked about that off air yesterday, and I didn't even know that that part of the trade had occurred. And that's when I had to do a little bit of research to find out, like, just like, oh, that's how, because I was wondering, how's Florida going to, Florida was working off of the loophole rule that happened in the NHL. And that's how these Florida teams and a few of these teams, even Vegas did it, was able to keep players on their team, but have them on injured reserve so that they didn't go against the cap. And then at the end of the season, take them off of injured reserve. And these are like all-star type players. So they're paying them all year long. It's not affecting their pay. But sure, at the end of the season, now they're fully rested and ready for a playoff run. And, you know, you had Tampa Bay win a couple of cups that way. You had Florida win a couple of cups that way. Ultimately, it's what helped Vegas get the cup, you know, because they were able to bring in a couple of guys at the very end that they were able to keep off of the books for that time. They closed that hole. That loophole now is closed in the NHL. So you can't do that anymore. And so they had to trade away an asset. And that's what now you have a guy up.
The new rule as it's laid out is you basically have to be playing in the last month, right? To be able to go onto the playoffs.
I think you
got to be on the active roster. Let me put it that way. You don't necessarily have to be on the ice, but you have to be on the active roster. The way that I understood it.
Correct. Yeah, that there is, and that all that money goes onto the cap. So if you are, you got to do it. And I think it's literally a month and a half. I think they make it 6 weeks.
Oh, it's 6 weeks. Okay.
So there's still a game that could be played. You know what I mean? There's always games that are going to be played, but you have to have that 6 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
That's what forces.
That year's only a couple, last year was the first year or year before, something like that. So, I mean, the GMs are going to find a way to finesse that rule.
Well, but I think it also goes in, it's incorporated with the trade deadline. So like you are hey, listen, if you're going to make some sense, you're going to make a trade, you're going to do whatever, everybody after the trade deadline that you have on your cap has got to be there on the cap. And that means if you have to cut costs to do so, you better do it right then and there.
Yeah, it would make sense to have it locked in after the trade deadline because in theory, moves should mostly be done. So yeah, no, that would make some sense. And then here in Seattle, the Kraken, a guy that I said they should sign and they had initially let walk away, Bobby McMahon coming back 6 year, 5.4 mil a year. So he's going to be here for a while. So that's encouraging because, I mean, we brought him down at the trade deadline and then he, averaged a goal every other game. I mean, so he was the fastest in franchise history to get to 10 goals. And so, I mean, the fact that they let him walk away initially, I'm like, guys, what's the one thing we couldn't do? Oh, score. Cool. We let the one guy that came in and started scoring. They're like, yeah, we don't need those services. So, it's frustrating to see that everybody walk away from the table, but apparently they were able to get everybody back. And so, yeah, he's here on a 6-year contract, which is awesome. And then Mackey, he brings a lot of speed to the team. So, and he's not afraid to shoot. So those two moves are actually encouraging for the Kraken.
Well, and now you've got a new first line because that's where Samoskevich is going to play.
Yep.
So, and now you've got a true first line, actually, like a line that could, he only scored 24 goals, I think, this year, but it's, he's another one who could start to put the puck in the net. That's what you need, somebody who could do. And now your power play might actually have a little bit of firepower to it. I would suspect that if I was the Kraken GM, and they have a new GM over there, so I'm sure he's he's trying to figure some stuff out, especially with the draft coming up and such, that he's going to pick up a defenseman that knows how to run the point. And that may be an older player for like a second or third round pick. I know that they don't have as many picks now. They traded away their first round pick. It was the first round pick from the Lightning that they traded away. So they still do have their first round pick. And I understand why you're not going to give that up unless you're getting somebody of real worth, because that's top 15 pick, I think, right? I think you're picking.
Yeah. Like they defense isn't their issue though. Like they have some good defensemen. You don't necessarily have to trade for that. Like that was the one thing that they were great at.
Not a guy who runs the point on the power play though.
Oh yeah, no, that's true.
So that's what you're doing. You're not trying to change your defense, because that is the one thing that you guys have had going for you. You were able to, stop goals from being scored. It's just that you couldn't score goals. So losing games 2-1 and 3-2 stink, especially in the NHL, because you need to score. Yeah, you need to score 3.5 to 4 goals a game.
Yeah, that's
a winning formula.
I think if there was one guy that you could probably do that with that's on the roster, would be Vince Dunn. He finds a way to get points, right? So like if you were to do it with the guys on the roster, I would bet that you'd have them out there with Dunn.
Well, I guess we'll see, because we got a little bit of time before they get back onto the ice again and start skating around and what have you. But everything on paper, I'd be willing to bet that if I was that GM, you may give up a little bit of your defense to try to get somebody who's going to run the point on the power play and try to start figuring out how to get goals.
Yeah.
And like I said, because it's you may keep him as your number one defenseman, and he may score a lot of points just because he happens to be on the ice for 25 minutes a game. I mean, that's a way to score points sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just because you're there all the time.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I mean, again, I'm not the GM. They don't pay me any money in Seattle to be their GM. So I can only go by as being a fan of hockey itself.
Yeah. No, and they send me all the info, but I get to make zero decisions. So I'm right there with you.
Hey, shout out to Ryan Craig. Ryan Craig, the new coach of the Knights.
There you go.
Yep.
Is that a tough job to step into? If it just with the run that you just had,
it should not be.
It should not be. It shouldn't be. But is it? Listen, Tortorella is easy to be able to forget. You know what I mean? But the run's not.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're forced to have to step into the shoes of a guy who just came in the last second, was able to take your team to a Stanley Cup. Does that make how do I put this? Does that put a monkey on your back right away to start?
I mean, you have some pressure, right? Because you got to try and at least get as far as you did the year before.
Well, that becomes a question.
The pressure's there for that. And I think but that would be true no matter what, because Vegas, since they came in, have been good, right?
Yeah.
It's not like they've had sections where they're just like, oh, this team's awful, whatever. Like they came in, they almost win it, and then they do eventually win a couple of years later, but they're in the conversation every year. So no matter who steps into that role, there's pressure that you got to do this, because that's just what we do in Vegas.
Yeah, but I think there's also a little less because familiarity, right? He's promoted from within. He was actually a part of the staff when they won the championship in 2023.
True.
And he's coached it was the minor league affiliate since then. So I don't think it's as much pressure if it was a completely new face to the organization. She's got that familiarity with the locker room, with upper management, and like I said, with the fans, because the affiliate plays here in Vegas also. It's the Vegas
Does that
Silver
make
Knights.
it less, or does that make it more? Because you have that familiarity, and they're like, "Look, you should be able to get in here and just run."
I think it's less because we know what the expectation is. You know what I mean?
You
So
know that I know that you know that I know.
Exactly. Like you're not coming in like completely clueless. Like, oh, I didn't
Sure.
realize it was like, and you got some jury on your finger because So
That's
Yeah, I would go as far as to say is that hockey, different than the other sports across the board, is very family oriented in terms of keeping their people. So it doesn't surprise me that he was brought up from the AHL affiliate or the whatever it is, the Western
Yeah.
Hockey League affiliate, and was able to just like I said, it's a seamless transition. I'd be willing to bet that because of that, they're probably going to give him a little bit more time, because this is that year where Vegas is going to have to take a step back. Unless all of a sudden you start to have guys that play out of their mind, they ran into a cap issue, so they are going to lose a couple of players one way or another. And as much as they can try to finagle all the numbers, they're going to lose a couple of guys, and that they're going to have to restructure how they go about doing things if they want to be able to compete. Does that make them not a playoff team? Absolutely not. They're going to be in the playoffs, and then and the Stanley Cup more than anything else, you can definitely run a hot streak, which is what I felt like they did this year anyways. Is it going to bring them back to a Stanley Cup? Only time's going to tell that.
Yeah.
But I'd be willing to bet that's why they hired from within, to give him some time, because they know that there is that. Listen, that streak's got to end a little bit. Like you started out your franchise and went to the Stanley Cup. You have set the bar way, way, way high, and there's an expectation now of all of that stuff. Yeah. You hire from within because although that expectation is understood, it's relegated to, okay, you know what, we are committed to you because you've been with us since the beginning. And we have to kind of go and take some steps backward towards where we started so that we can go forward in the future.
Yeah. And the GM has had a relationship with the coach since he was like 15 years old, which I don't know how to take that. It just sounds weird. But another reason he could be trying to save money on coaching is because Bill Foley has officially made a bid for the Vegas NBA team.
Okay. What'd that come in at?
I think
has it been
number
released?
out there is not official, but some people guess about $10 billion.
Oof. Okay.
$10 billion.
$10 billion. He's already hired Morgan Stanley.
Okay.
And
that's a lot of zeros.
Yeah, they worked with the Spurs and the Nets. He's part of his plan is for them to play in T-Mobile Arena. So it's about 19,000 for NBA, basketball events. And so we'll see what happens with that.
Okay. I haven't heard of any official bid for Seattle yet. But there's a few groups that are interested, but I haven't heard an actual number floated yet. But before it sounded like it was really just the one, and really the One Roof Entertainment, or I think that's what it was called. They're still going to be the front runner because they're the majority owner of the building they'd play in. So I have to feel like they have the inside track, and they're also the owner of the Storm and owners of the Kraken, right? So you have to think whatever their bid is, if it's close, they're probably going to win since they have the building. So I don't know. We'll see. But
possession is 9/10, right?
What's that?
It said possessions is 9/10 of the law.
That's right. That's right. Oh, you guys won the bid. Cool. I wonder where y'all are going to play. So, yeah. Speaking of the Storm, they come up a little short last night, makes their losing streak 11 against the Wings, and it was a loss that you actually felt kind of good about. They haven't had a lot of these. They've been riding the struggle bus a bit, but they put up 110 points last night, and goes into overtime against the Wings. The Wings are a good team, and they just couldn't quite close it out. But Dom goes off for 27 and 12. It was just a really good look for the team. Outside of a little bit rough first quarter, they ended up finishing the night over 50% from the field, 45% from the arc. So there was a lot of things that happened in this game that you can build on moving forward. You got to remember that this team is built of rookies and a brand new coach and whatever. And if you know me, I'm not a moral win person, right? Like moral victories. Like I don't believe in those. Like they got to land in the win column at some point. But this one, you're like, okay, this is probably some of the best basketball they've played. And again, it came up short, but at least you're like, hey, we're starting to play good, cohesive basketball. And we didn't get blown off the boards, which is something that's been an issue. We didn't get, we didn't go crazy with turnovers, which has also been an issue. So some of the things that are fundamentals that you kind of learn through, we're starting to get tightened up. So if they're able to play like they did last night, that does bring wins to a team. It didn't last night, but if you play at that level, you will finally land in the win column.
Look at the bright side. You don't have to play us again until late in the season. So
yeah, well, there's that. I mean, making a aces parallel, Dom putting up those numbers made her the youngest to have 30 plus and 10 plus, and who she passed was Asia Wilson.
Yeah.
So how about that? Doesn't matter. Still ended in an L. So, there's that element of it. But
and even when they played the aces, they actually, I thought, played them well.
They did.
That was that they actually played not only that, but I felt like that they were able to learn from the aces in terms of some of the cohesiveness they need as a team themselves. Even though they lost that game, it was close, a lot closer than we thought.
They beat the spread for sure. That's the thing is you're just talking about a really young team. Your two main players are a rookie and a second year in Awa and Dom. Flage's a rookie. There's basically nobody on this team that was here before, except Ezzy, who hasn't played a single game yet, and she's still a few weeks out with her foot injury, a new coach. I mean, basically you have a expansion team that's been around a long time. That's basically what we got right now. And so I don't think anybody really expected them to be great this season, right? I did expect them to steal a couple of wins, right? They just haven't been able to figure out how to put a whole game together.
Yeah.
So once they can figure out how to put a whole game together, they're going to be a competitive team because effort is not an issue on this team. Even during this losing streak, like effort is not a problem. They play for each other. They want to win, and they battled till the very last second. It's just going to be them getting that chemistry to the point where you're not turning the ball over as much as they've been.
Yeah.
How much of that?
Throw so many Browns jokes at me. I got to get between the Golden Knights and the Aces. That's where I get my get back. So
get it. Hey, but I'm never mad at it. I'm like, hey, let's go. I mean, all you got to say is you are a Mariners fan. Be like, yeah, fair enough. Like,
I can't even say that because they beat up on the Guardians last time they played. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
And But real quickly, just to finish up on that, how is the coach holding up in the process? I mean, the fact that you're saying that they're playing spirited to the end makes me think, okay, that's doing pretty well. But that is it a little bit of coaching that's creating some of the, all right, obviously she's not on the court to create the turnovers that have these, this effect and such, so that there is a learning curve that's going on. How's she holding up, I guess, is my question.
Good. Actually, that was one of the questions that came up in the presser last night was, what's the attitude and, how are you doing in all of this? And, she's encouraged by what she's seeing. She's a seasoned coach. All right. Like this is her first job in as a WNBA head coach, but she's been in the NBA and all of that. So, so she's watching the growth of this team. She sees the chemistry building. This team has had a litany of injuries, right? So last night we had 3 people outside of Ezzy that were hurt, that are main contributors, right? So they were all out with foot injuries, and these types of things happen. Injuries have been a real problem with this team, which is unfortunate when you have such a young team. So you haven't even really been able to solidify your starting 5 yet. And we're 18 games into the season now. So that's a little worrisome, right? As far as getting any kind of cohesiveness when you are almost halfway through and you can't seem to get the same 5 people on the floor to start the game. That being said, the attitude is actually still very good with the coach and the players. Obviously they're frustrated, right? Like nobody likes to lose. You certainly don't want to lose a bunch in a row, but there's no defeated mentality that sometimes you see in teams that go on losing streaks where they're just like, when's the other shoe gonna drop kind of thing. There's none of that. They're hungry. They're up there when you're talking to them. They're just like, look, we want to win. Right? You saw out there, we were battling all night. We were running, we were doing everything we could to win. We came up on the short end, but we want to win. And so that's encouraging, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's really, like I said, I'm glad somebody asked that question, because that's the first thing I think of as you guys are only 17 games into the season and you're on an 11-game losing streak.
Yeah.
That's disheartening. That's disheartening. And especially for a coach, you want to make sure that the coach isn't starting to become disheartened. Mm-hmm. But when you're saying that they're playing to the last whistle, even though they're not coming out with the W, they are doing that. I've even said a couple of times when I've been looking at the matchups, like saying, hey, you know what, this could be the time that they steal one. Yeah. Pretty soon the pendulum is going to swing, and they are going to steal one, and then it's going to be like 2 or 3 or 4 in a row. And it might even be accidentally 4 in a row, 4 in a row wins. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, we got that first win. We now know what it feels like. We got the second win. The third win is the accident. You know what I mean? Where we beat somebody we're not supposed to beat. And then that fourth win is, you got to have those types of games in a stretch. And I don't know when they're coming, because I'm not, as, knowledgeable about their schedule like that. But
sure.
It's good to hear that. Like I said, I don't want to see the team quit on itself.
No, and I mean, it's the one thing that's been, a saving grace, so to speak, having to be in these press conferences, right? Because it's tough to be in there and be like, hey, we lost again. Because then you're asking the same questions a lot. Like, how come we got beat up so bad in the paint? How come we're turning the ball over so much? Why are we not getting these offensive boards? When you have 2 or 3 of those in a row, you're like, okay, you can kind of reword that same question. When you're 10 deep, you're like, I could bring a thesaurus to this, and I'm not going to be able to come up with a new way to word this to make it sound like it's a new question. So it's so when you have stuff like this where you're like, okay, Dom goes off for 37, right? Mm-hmm. That's impressive. Win or loss, that's an impressive night, especially when you figure quarters are shorter than they are in the NBA, right? Mm-hmm. So you have somebody that's coming close to a 30 or a 40 piece, like that's that's no joke. Like that's a great night. So, yeah, like there's just been little things along the way that you're just like, okay, I don't have to beat up on you every time we're in here. Like, how come we turn the ball over all the time, right? So, and those were things that were cleaned up in this game, and that's why I say, it was encouraging. Now, if you look at the Mercury game just a few days ago, that was ugly. So, like, they were down 20 early, and then it just never got better.
Right.
So.
I mean, because when you're talking about losing, nobody knows it better than the Browns.
Oh,
Yeah,
just
there it is.
floating that in there. I do want to touch on the NFL before we get out of here, though, since we only have 9 minutes here. Because we were talking about relegation yesterday, right?
Mm.
And there is an element of that might be coming, and it's not to the NFL specifically. It's to your refs. So it sounds like in their new CBA, there might be language. Now it hasn't been officially put out, so don't quote me on this. But
right.
the rumors of it are, if you are a low graded ref that are not eligible for the playoffs, you might get demoted to the UFL. And if that's the case, I actually kind of like that because they are offset leagues. You would get through your NFL season. You are low rated enough that you aren't eligible to go into the playoffs, and that would have you kick over to the UFL to either try and get better and get back into the NFL that following season, or you get to hang out there for a while. So there might be an element of regulation coming to the NFL, just not when it comes to teams.
I like it. I think they need.
I guess that
NBA.
I think all sports could benefit from that. Actually, get some of these guys that are just camped out in there that aren't good at their job out.
But it also makes it so that is the money the same?
I'm sure
that's the big question. Yeah, well, no, playoff money is different, obviously.
Right. No,
but regular season,
I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it would be like if you are a baseball player and you get sent to AAA, right?
Right.
AAA money is not MLB money. Like it's just not.
No, I can imagine, but the union's the same. You know what I mean? So it's like you're all part of the same union, which, that's where it comes like, hey, if I am relegated to the UFL from the NFL, and if this is done as a, hey, we are using this as a training situation to make you a better referee.
Look at
then that's the way to do that. But if this is used as a slap on the wrist because you're a bad referee, I don't like that.
Well, no, this is supposed to be training. Like this is supposed to be like, hey, you're not cutting it. This is your performance, protection kind of thing. So this is, you go down there and you got to get better at your craft. It would not shock me if that paid less.
But aren't they still fighting to become like full-time employees, the NFL refs?
Yeah. So I still don't think that's happening this time around, but yes, that was part of the argument too.
Yeah, because I think that would have to happen before you implement something like this.
You would think so, because the timing's different, right? So if you're used to preparing for, hey, I got to be available for the NFL, and of course, since the UFL is a spring league, so to speak, obviously there's some complications that would happen there, but so I don't know, maybe
just on the flights alone. Just on the flights alone, because you think about that. I mean, referees, and to tell a little bit of their business, they are awarded first-class flights to all of these locations. Nice. They typically sell those first-class flights and go coach, and that's how they get other money. It's a legal practice that's able to happen as long as you report it on your taxes, which they all learned in the late 90s that they have to, because that was the big deal then. So but that's how they make some of their money. They're selling the first class flights, both there and back. So it's like $6,000, $7,000 that they're making each week beyond their pay.
Yeah.
So, and they feel like right. And I feel like that's what they get paid pretty well.
Yeah.
Like that's my next question are you making as a head referee $25,000 a game? Because every player on that field is making 4 times as much most of the time.
You're not making player money.
But 200, average between 200 and 250,000 a year. Season.
All right, so you're making about 20,000 a game as a head referee.
It wouldn't be that. Wouldn't be quite that high. It'd be like 12 to 15, something like that.
Okay. I mean, it's still a lot of money, and you better know your craft because you're the one hated person on that field the moment you get on there.
Yep.
Yeah. So
still $250K for what? 25 weeks. So.
Yeah, because I imagine if you go into the playoffs, if you're chosen for the playoffs, that's all overtime, and you get paid as such.
Yeah. The money does go up in postseason. I don't remember what it goes up to, and then it's even higher for the Super Bowl, obviously.
Right. So
I'll take it to be wrong all the time.
For sure, and I think actually preseason game for them is normal pay.
Yeah, that's why everything is normal pay. They have to do it in terms of a 20-game season, either way. So. And then, like I said, and you have the playoffs and all that other fun stuff. I got it. You know what I mean? And they've got to practice. And that's why the teams call them in. The teams will actually pay for them to come in during preseason and stuff like that and actually pay them, extra money for them to not only practice, but to call practices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but if they have a new wrinkle to a play they want to have, they do get some eyes on those things also. Be like, hey, this is the way we're going to run this. How are you going to call it?
Right.
Because it's kind of legal. So we want to see if they're going to, hey, that's how trick plays come together, right?
Hey, absolutely.
They get those refs in the building and they're like, hey, this is what we're thinking. The alignment's within the rules. How are you going to call this?
Right.
So.
Interesting stuff.
I like this one though. This is one of the few things that when it comes to refs, I like this idea because maybe it does tighten some stuff up, and that would be awesome.
Couldn't hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. That being said, that was
one of the leagues is listening.
If you are listening on the radio, 97.3 ICU. We have some smooth jazz headed your way. And of course, if you are listening everywhere else, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps us bring our stuff to you. Otherwise, we're going to get out of here. Bobby, we'll see you next week.
Take
it easy, gentlemen.
Peace.